So, short video for you today on the limits of opinion and how you can improve the weight of your opinion for your audience. So, first, when you say something like, I think it's good, this has a limited weight depending on your audience. It's one viewpoint, just yours. You have little to no evidence in that statement. In fact, there's almost none. The only evidence that you have is that for it being good is that you think it's good. And you have a limited authority to the average audience member. Now, this depends. Like if you're talking to your siblings or to your best friend or someone else who trusts you, uh, they might listen to this and they might think, yeah, absolutely. You say that it's good, I'm going to believe you. Um, Also, you might have a better authority if you have a proven history of reviewing things. But for most of us, we don't have that dedicated Instagram following or whatever you have where you've been reviewing things for years and years and years and people are going to trust what you have to say. So, one viewpoint, little evidence, limited authority. We can deal with this, all right? First, using multiple viewpoints. You can start out with surveys. Like if you're reviewing a movie, you can, as people come out of the movie theater, just ask, did you like the movie? Yes or no? And say 19 out of 20 people said that the movie was good. That's good. That's multiple viewpoints. That helps you tell your audience that the movie might appeal to them. You can also use things that aggregate opinions like Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes. These are sites that gather together a lot of different critics' viewpoints on things and also the average person's views of things. And so you can see what many, many people thought about this. Another thing you can do is look at viewership or sales data from places like Nielsen ratings. This is for television. I don't know how important it is anymore because I don't remember if they started to take into account Netflix and Hulu and other streaming services or not. I'm not sure. Uh, or something like Zillow real estate data is sales data for houses. So you can find out what houses have been selling for in a certain neighborhood and what people have them on the market for. So that kind of information is multiple viewpoints. It's a lot of different pieces of information that you can share with your audience to try to convince them, all right, this house is a good buy, for instance, or this TV show is a good watch. So once you have that, that gives you more evidence, right? That's multiple viewpoints, and you can use that data from the previous slide as evidence. Another thing that you can do that doesn't require surveys or going to Metacritic or things like that is comparing what you're reviewing to similar things. So if you're talking about a science fiction movie, for example, you might compare that to other science fiction movies that you've watched in the past. Maybe popular ones that your audience is more likely to have seen. Or maybe you compare it to a number of different types of movies instead of just one particular movie. This is going to help with your evidence. Another thing that you can do is get specific. You can talk about which parts are good, which are bad, which are okay. So if you are talking again about this movie, you might talk about the cinematography. You might talk about the acting. You might talk about the plot or about the direction. All of these things. So this is increasing the amount of evidence that you had. Besides, I think it's good, you are saying, I think it's good because A, B, C, D, E. And the more you talk about these specifics of the thing that you're reviewing, the more evidence you have, the more your audience is going to believe you. And part of the reason that they're going to believe you at that point is because adding this information builds your authority. It builds your image as an expert for your audience. So you talk about direction, cinematography, acting, all these things. You sound like you know what you're talking about. And people listen to that. They pay attention to that. And they think, all right, yeah, this person sounds like an expert. They probably are an expert. So that is one way that you can build authority. Another way that you can build authority is by doing something again and again and again and again. And eventually people are going to say, okay, yes, you know what you're talking about. I have a few examples here. Pauline Kael wrote movie reviews throughout the later half of the 1900s. Wrote hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movie reviews, maybe up to the thousands. I have a book that has, I think, 800 of her reviews, so I'm sure she hit at least 1,000. No, not everyone trusted Pauline Kael's reviews. She disagreed with a lot of other critics at the time. She said that some movies were great that other critics said were terrible. So, there are differences of opinion there, but she wrote enough about movies that people started to think, yeah, she knows what she's talking about, and she is an authority. She has an opinion. We can listen to that. And, even if I disagree with Pauline Kael about every single movie, that's still good information, right? I can read a review that Kael wrote, and I can say, all right, Pauline Kael thought that was good. I'm just not going to watch it. Let's hop back a little bit. Once you're able to expand the number of viewpoints that you have, increase the amount of evidence that you give, and talk about these things builds your authority, and talking about these things all the time builds your authority a lot, then the limits of opinion are transcended. You don't have to worry about people not listening to you because you've done all of the work to make people listen to you and make them believe what you have to say.